Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the situation report for the day of 852 for the 24th of June. There is some frontline changes report for today, and of course, as usual, do press the like button, bomb the like button with your fab 10,000. And so there is frontline changes over at Voschansk, Rozdilivka as well as Krasnohorivka. Not a lot, but very significant. Over at the Kharkiv front, the Ukrainian forces have made some ground a little bit as the Ukrainian forces continue their counterattack over on this eastern part of Voschansk. There is the geolocation showing that Ukrainians have taken new positions, which means that they have managed to progress a bit more over on this eastern eastern part of Voschansk. So that is a frontline change over at the Kharkiv front. The next frontline change is over at Rozdilivka, over at the Sivas front. So we already have yesterday reported this massive update at Rozdilivka where the Russian forces raised the flag over at this location on the southern part of Rozdilivka. And this, of course, created this change. And based on the Russian side, so the Russians have caught up with this reporting and of this situation, this developing situation. And based on their mapping, they actually draw that this entire salient that was previously, existed is now under Russian control. It's now fully taken by the Russians, which makes a lot more sense because, as I mentioned, it's not possible to hold that position for the Ukrainians. So the Russians have now taken all these grounds, but this is entirely not corroborated by the Ukrainian side. So so we'll continue to monitor the situation. If the Russians are correct, then we're going to see much more attacks from the Russians heading over the high grounds and totally forcing the Ukrainians into a withdrawal because they can't really go up the high ground to withdraw. So that's the frontline change over at Rozdilivka. The last frontline change is over at Krasnohorivka. So at the Battle of Krasnohorivka in the west of Donetsk is very significant as well. Based on Ukrainian mapping, Deep State UA has mapped that the Russian forces have taken significant grounds around here, taken multiple of these high-rise buildings on this eastern part of Krasnohorivka, and corroborated a little bit of what the Russians has claimed, but the other grounds over here is not under Russian control based on the Ukrainians. But this is still very significant capture because taking the high ground means that they have a high ground, the perspective of the rest of this residential neighborhood, as well as of course this park around here. So this is the frontline change over at Krasnohorivka. So for those that only watches the frontline changes report, do help to press the like button, subscribe, and I'm going to go into details in the strategic and tactical reporting. We go into, as usual, the Kharkiv front, and then we'll go clockwise direction, ending with the Kherson front at the Dnipro River region. Over at the Kharkiv front, the clashes continue with both sides attacking each other. So there is clashes over at Lipsy, over at Voschansk, and Ukraine seems to be countering over at Taikei. There is also some possible attack over on this eastern part from Voschansk region. We'll talk about it, in a while. So let's focus on the Lipsy sector. At the Lipsy sector, I think there is some kind of a development that is not reported. Now the fighting is exclusively being mentioned at Lipsy. Two majors reported the Ukrainians counterattack at Lipsy, whereas the Russian and Ukrainian Defense Ministry talk about the Russians attack. The Russians are on the offensive at Lipsy. So it seems that the fighting is predominantly over at the Lipsy sector. At the Lipsy city region. And suddenly this entire fighting at Klipoke is not mentioned anymore. There's a high possibility that the Ukrainians have abandoned the operation over here, or they have lost position over at Klipoke. And so the Ukrainians have this not very good position. They have to go through the Dacha and try to attack into Klipoke. There is no guarantee that they are able to entrench at that position, and there's a high chance that the Russians may have already kicked them out in one of these engagements. So this might be a possibility why we are not seeing fighting at reported at this region here, which was previously reported. So if Russian Defense Ministry on the 23rd was still talking about fighting at Klipoke or Glubokoye, and then Ryba also talked about this on the 23rd. 24th, now it's 24th. This talking about 24th. Suddenly the reports of the fighting is now concentrating on Lipsi. It feels a bit weird. So we will continue to keep track and see if this actually means anything. There is geolocation near Ternova of an airstrike on the tree line where the Ukrainians are entrenched. So that's one thing. So that's quite depressing. Imagine you're a soldier, you're guarding a place that's totally not where the active fighting is, and suddenly you die from an airstrike. I think that's like a sad end. Over at this Voschansk region, there is continued fighting. Developments is on the eastern part of Voschansk, where the Ukrainians are conducting their counteroffensive. They captured some ground around here, whereas the Russians are still continuing to pound the Ukrainians and probably do some limited attack. The information coming from Ryba, Russian Defense Ministry, and Ukrainian Defense Ministry all mentioned about Russian airstrikes or attacks on Ukrainian positions. And on the further east, Ukrainian forces are on the counter over at Taike. So the situation is interesting. We have two majors reported about this thing. They said that this is actually a recon operation, so it could be some recon by combat kind of situation around here, because this is a lot of grounds to cover. They may not necessarily know where the Russians are entrenched. So the battle is starting, like I mentioned previously, it's looking like a stalemate at this moment. But no, we shall see how this develops. And moving on, over at Boshkove. So Russian Defense Ministry mentioned Boshkove, that they actually managed to hit or move they managed to hit Ukrainian forces. So it should be shelling. So this is a wrong icon. So shelling, I put the shelling reported at Boshkove. So it's not actually an attack. So they did not mention change of front line. So there is some shelling around here. Previously, there was at Okrivka, that was on the 21st of May. So that was something like this. It could be some diversion or just some distraction of the Ukrainian forces, because this is not where the active front line is. So maybe there's some concentration of forces that attracted some bombs. So that's all from this Kharkiv front. Moving into the Kupiansk front. At the Kupiansk front, Russian forces are attacking at Sinkivka, over at this is Stepova, Novoselivka, as well as Pishani. So this is the three locations that is some fighting. Various geolocation of shelling of Ukrainian forces at Pishani, the two Pishani, and somewhere south of it, just signifies that Ukrainians are present in the region. We move into the Sviatove front. At the Sviatove front, situation is also pretty similar as the Kupiansk front. Fighting reported as Stemekivka towards Kopanki, towards Kharkivka, as well as Makiivka. So the Russians are hitting a lot of different places. I wonder if this is recon by combat. They are trying to look where is the weak spot in the lines, and then you can double down and pound through the weak lines. Maybe that's what they're trying to do right now, because fighting is very sporadic all over the place. And further south, over at the Crimea front. At the Crimea front, there is fighting reported at Nevsky, Terny, Torske, Dibrova, as well as Serebiansky Forestry, and towards Khorykhorivka. So is more concentrated, more all over the place. But similarly, as Crimea always goes, there's always fighting, but nothing really changes in this region here. So this is Crimea front. And we move into the Sivers front. At the civil front, there is fighting reported at Bilohorivka, Velkom Okanyamsky, Vimka, and there is fighting, of course, at Rozdolivka. And of course, the big news is the situation at Rozdolivka, where the Battle of Rozdolivka is currently now on, with the Russian forces already raised the flag over in the southern part of Rozdolivka. And Russian mapping, as I mentioned in the Frontline Changes report, have claimed all the high ground east of this position. So I suspect the Russians will continue to attack in the high ground, take all the high ground, and Rozdolivka will have to fall. So Ukrainian forces would then be forced to withdraw from this area here. And who knows, maybe the Russians have already done this. So it could be, there's always a possibility that the Russians have already succeeded in taking more grounds in the high ground, and now has already forced the Ukrainians to do some partial withdrawal from this position. That's why the Russians are managing to make some grounds on this southern part of Rozdolivka. I think that is a possibility, because without the high ground, Rozdolivka is just not holdable. It's like Klishevka situation at the Bakhmut front, where it's backed by a high ground, and not having the high ground just make the settlement untenable. So that's all from this Sivas front. Over at the Bakhmut front, in the central part, the Ukrainians are on the counter attack. Let me see. Did I put it wrong? Yeah, I think I put it wrong. Okay, let me change the icons. Yeah, amended. Yeah, I kind of like got confused when I was mapping and mapped Russian attacks into as a Ukrainian attack. So I think there's more changes below. Wait, give me a second more. One second has passed. Yeah, I've updated. So again, from this area here, Russian forces are attacking at Kalinina, over at the Chasivya region, Ivaniske, as well as Klishevka. So one geolocation of some attacks by the Russians over at the canal region. So this could be relating to this attack, because they mentioned Chasivya. So it could be this attack, through canal. That is what this report is referring to. And so that's all from the Bakhmut front. Very minimal stuff. It's just engagement to keep them there. So there is Russian shelling over at Kharkovivka. So yeah, not very important. So we move on into the New York front. At the New York front, the Torres offensive reports is back, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. Only the Ukrainians are talking about this. Russian forces shelled Torres, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and the Russians are attacking Pivnishny as well as Pivdeny. Geolocation of Russian forces on the advanced position near Druzhba confirmed the frontline changes. And so this is the current situation. The Russians seems to be attacking, but only the Ukrainians are talking about it. We will continue to see whether this is continuing over the next few days. Moving at the Avdiivka front, at the northern flank of the Avdiivka front, Russian forces are attacking at Vodizenka, Novoalexandrivka, towards Yekhanivka, Sokil, and Novoporotsky. So the main push is around this area here. The Arkhangelsk, Karamik, Kalinove region, there is no fighting being reported. Geolocation at Sokil, by military summary, they in terms of the description, they claim that it's a TOS-2. TOS-2 is the newer version of the TOS-1, which is a thermobaric multiple launch rocket system. And for this rocket system, instead of being tracked, it's actually wheeled. They have a lorry carrying the launcher. So instead of the track, which looks more cooler, much more cooler. But it seems to be a consistent development. Like Pencil is the same thing. Pencil used to be tracked, and then they become a lorry. So now this TOS become a lorry as well. So maybe this is the future of warfare. It could be a result of the importance of roads. Road developments since World War II. There's a lot more roads. Lesser dirt roads. So more of these concrete roads that allows vehicles to travel very, very quickly. So which save a lot of fuel because it's very heavy to carry track vehicles, to move track vehicles. So I think this is just a natural development, which is also why we are seeing more infantry fighting vehicles with wheels. But of course, how the wheels will deal with mud is a totally different thing altogether. We're not sure. But I mean, given the extended range of the new TOS, it does make sense why they invested in the wheeled vehicle, because you don't necessarily need track vehicle when you're fighting in countries nowadays all have a lot of roads. So this is the current situation. The geolocation over in the north of Sokyo confirmed the frontline change from yesterday. So that's the current situation over in the north. According to the reports by Ryba, they say that the Russian forces are already approaching the outskirts of Vodyzenka. So, which is, yeah, probably they are talking about this area here. They are fighting closer and closer. Ukrainians have a very strong defensive position facing the Novo Oleksandrivka. So should be fine, I think. Over in the southern part, we have Russian forces attacking Kharkivka, in the area of Umansky and Novoselivka, Persia. So this is the current situation. No change from previous, but the intensity of the fighting still remains to be pretty high, as this is where I think is the main push is. Over at the Battle of Krasnohorivka at the Donetsk front, as I mentioned, Russian forces is currently concentrating on the eastern part of the settlement, or at least the report seems to be only from here. Yesterday we have the attack coming from the east, from the western part. So you can see this pincer development all around, ignoring the center part. So this is probably what is currently happening over at the Krasnohorivka situation. Further south, fighting is reported at Paraskovievka and towards Konstantinivka. This is usual. There is a very strong defensive line around here. The Russians didn't seem to break it, or unwilling to break it. So no, that's the stalemate over this region. And Korakove got struck again by the Russians. This is the HQ of the Ukrainian forces. And over at Prashestivka, there is a geolocation of a helicopter-guided missile strike. Over at the Velika Novosilka sector, Ukrainian forces are counterattacking at Staromayorsky and Uruzhaine. Russians are still pushing at Uruzhaine, and we have new reports of fighting reported towards Rivnopil. Shelling reported at Blahodane and Velika Novosilka. So this is the situation over at the Velika Novosilka sector. And yeah, so pretty similar situation around here. And we move into the Zaporizhia front. We have 0 reports coming out of Zaporizhia. Very, very interesting, except one geolocation of a Lancet hitting a Ukrainian artillery at Komishivka. So that's all from Zaporizhia. And over at the Kherson front, we have one geolocation of a Iskander hitting a Iris-T air defense system. So yet another air defense system moving towards the front to get destroyed. And over in this Kherson front, along the Dnipro River, geolocation of an airstrike at Bukhunka, and then the Russian Defense Ministry reported shelling at Ivanivka as well as Antonivka. Geolocation of a missile strike hitting Stepanivka, and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported fighting on the left bank of the Dnipro River. And at this time round, I decided to plot this information near Pishanivka. So because usually at Krinky, they will say Krinky. The Ukrainians do have some positions on the southern flank of the southern shore, southern banks of the Dnipro River. So the Russians, if they attack any of these locations, could be exactly what the Ukrainians are describing, but we do not know where the exact front line right now is. So previously, the Ukrainians have actually gone very far. They attacked Poima, and Pishanivka. Those was some glory days from the October and November period last year. So since then, there is not much fighting around here already. We do not know where the front line exactly is right now. So tentatively, I just map it as fighting along the islands, along the region or the south part. As you can see, left bank of the Dnieper. It could be anywhere. So yeah, just finding somewhere to put the information, because yeah, I can't just plot it anywhere. Yeah, which exactly what I did. I plot it anyway. So anyway, that's all for the the situation report for the day of 852 for the 24th of June. Yeah. Because yesterday people say that I make a inappropriate joke, which I also call myself out for. So today I try to be a bit more boring. So hope you feel happy about it. And people dying in a war is normal. Okay, get used to it. It's a war. That's why we should advocate against wars, and advocate against politicians making stupid decisions that lead us to war. Unless you're facing with a crazy people or totally territorially aggressive people like the Mongols in the medieval era, that kind of thing. But we are not seeing this kind of thing in today's age. Not even Kim Jong-un dares to just not even the North Koreans dare to do it. The closest thing we had was ISIS, and even ISIS, they can't really conquer people. Like they cannot control, they cannot get hearts of the people or control the population to make them an effective ruler. So today's age, not that much of this kind of people. So I just want to highlight that it's a different age. So yeah, let's hope that the global trade economy, society continues to join together, like through the internet, everybody can communicate. Then war is less likely. And as long as people don't allow stupid politicians to become leaders, war can be avoided, generally speaking. So thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next update.